There is power in personal stories. It connects us, it empowers us, and it holds us accountable. It creates understanding and expands our perspective. This is Big in the Community with Jonathan James at the Kalamazoo Promise, a podcast aimed to highlight local leaders, collaborators, and innovators in the greater Kalamazoo community. All right, welcome back to Big in the Community. We are back in video, in color, in all the amazingness that you listen to. Now you get to see it. It's so much different. I don't know if that was proper grammar, but we are here either way. I'm sorry. I'd like to joke a lot. It's April Fool's. I'm not going to make a joke, but we are here with an amazing guest, Julian Jones, Senior Associate Athletics Director, Broncos Empowered, and Championship Culture from Western Michigan University Athletics. And he's going to kick us off with a quote.
Thank you. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. Malcolm X.
That's good. That's strong. That's how we got to start off this whole comeback season, right?
Yes.
So let's go straight into learning more about you. So how long have you been with WMU Athletics, and what led you to your current role that you're in right now?
Yes, so I've been here about 2.5 years now. August 1st to be 3 years for me.
Okay.
It's been an amazing time so far. I've been around at other universities, and when I got the phone call from our athletic director, Dan Bartholomew, about the role, I really wasn't too interested. I never really heard of Kalamazoo, so I wasn't sure about coming to Western Michigan. But when I got on the phone with him, hearing his vision and what he wanted to build and create here at Western Michigan, it just really sold me. And for me to be able to come and, build a program from the ground up, be the first person to lead the program was something that I wanted to do. So I decided to take that opportunity, and that it's closer to home from Cincinnati, Ohio. So 4.5 hours away from home. It made it also a lot better than being 10 hours away from home. So, so that's been great. Yeah.
Wow. No, that's awesome. 4.5 hours home. That's rough. I mean, compared to 10, that's more than half, but still. So going back a little bit, can you share your academic journey, your career journey, everything, like your experiences, influences that brought you to career in athletics?
Yes, for sure. So I will, when I was in high school, I wasn't really the best academically, but I was always involved. Like, I was the president of our student body. I did that throughout my time. And I was doing way more. I took all my leadership opportunities. I was doing those way more than I was my academics. So when it came time to apply for colleges, I was kind of slim picking as far as where I was going to go, because I didn't pay attention and do the best I should have done academically to set me up. But I was a track athlete in high school, middle school, high school, and then I also was a men's basketball manager in high school.
Okay. What'd you run in track?
I was a 200, 4x2, 400, and 4x4.
Okay. I have no idea what that means, but I know my wife, she did track, and she would want to know, what'd you do? So I got to ask. Sorry. Please continue.
So that's what I did. I was the sprinter. I was on the sprinting side.
Okay.
And so all my friends, they played basketball. I'm not good at basketball at all. And so I asked the coach, how can I be a part of the team? He said, you could be a basketball manager. So I did that. We got a new coach my last year in high school, basketball coach. And he said, hey, I was a basketball manager in college. Maybe you should look into it when you go to college. And so I was trying to figure out the schools I wanted to go to. I went to Youngstown State University for undergrad. I had an amazing time. I love YSU. And I was on my visit there, and I asked to meet with the basketball coaches, and I got connected to one of them, And I said, hey, I'm interested in being a basketball manager. What's the process? And they said, just apply, come back when you get in school, and we'll get you signed up. So I started my our college athletic career doing that, basketball managing. So that's what got me into it. I switched my major about 3 times before I figured out what I wanted to land on, and I landed on physical education and a minor in social work. And so I wanted to really just understand sports from a educational perspective, and then I wanted to go through social work just to understand people a little bit better. And so that's kind of what I did academically in undergrad. I was also involved with we started the NAACP college chapter on our campus, the president of the Student Diversity Council on campus. So I did a lot of involvement with DEI and athletics, trying to get them together. And one of the staff members at YSU said, hey, you should look into the postgrad internship at the NCAA headquarters in their national office. And so I decided to look into it. I saw that they had an Office of Inclusion, and I could apply for that internship, and I thought that'd be amazing. And so I applied to that opportunity, and I received it. And so they chose about 32 people, I think, out of about 1,500 applicants. So that was the starting of a blessing for my career.
That's awesome.
I did that for a year. It was a year-long internship program. I did that. I didn't find the job I thought I wanted leaving. I wanted to get a full-time job leaving the internship. But I was humbled that summer because I didn't find anything, and I had an opportunity to either be a grad assistant at Clemson or be a grad assistant at Oklahoma. And Clemson just won a national championship in football, so I was like, that sounds a little better for me. I'm gonna go down to Clemson. So I decided to go to Clemson, get my master's in youth development leadership. Again, I was a grad assistant in student athlete development. I did that for a semester, and then I was blessed enough to get a promotion to assistant director, and that's kind of what skyrocketed my career so quickly. And so when I was at Clemson, I oversaw the diversity programs for student athletes and the career and employer relations for the student athletes, helping them find their jobs and prepare for life after sport. So that's what I did for 2 years at Clemson, got my master's in youth development leadership, and then I received a call from Kansas State about their opening to oversee the student athlete development role. Again, I'm kind of nervous about Kansas State, like Manhattan, Kansas. They call it the Little Apple, and it was a move. And I decided I got the opportunity, so I took it, and I became the assistant athletics director for student athlete development. And I oversaw my own department. Then during that time, COVID happened. I just moved there. Then COVID happened. The murder of George Floyd happened, and so our student athletes that's not a really diverse place, so our student athletes were feeling it a lot. And out of that, I ended up getting a chief diversity officer title from that role in athletics to kind of help with the diversity inclusion based off of my experience from Clemson and NCAA. And then from there, we kind of just, oversaw that department for 3 years, was there for 3 years. I left as associate athletics director and chief diversity officer. And then that's when I got the call from Dan, regarding this opportunity and came here. So that's kind of been my career journey. And it was, like I said, I was blessed. I've moved up quicker than most, but it's a lot of people out there that, are moving up quick, and it's just been really fun to be a part of it, and maybe in having such a important role before I was 30. It was one of my goals was to have a leadership position like this before 30, and so at 29 I got it. So that was a blessing for me.
Nice. Wow. It sounds like you've been all over throughout like just school, but then also just all the connections you made, staying resilient through it all, and still saying, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then it's always interesting because like a lot of the people who've been on the podcast, like they're either millennials or older, and everybody talks about how COVID impacted them. And it's like just a little bit different for everybody. Is it in their career? Is it in school? And it's just interesting. Like it impacted all of us. But it's good to see that like you still stayed resilient through it. You still found those connections that you needed to make. What do you think? This is an extra question. What do you think when it comes to making those connections or seeing those opportunities? What's the difference maker when like you're looking for those?
Yeah, I just love people, and I'm social. I love building relationships. If you ask my friends, my college friends specifically, they will talk about that I'm like a networker, and authentically, I network, but I just always am intentional about when I'm going somewhere, even as a basketball manager. We were going to different schools. I would reach out to figure out who their basketball manager were, or I would reach out to somebody on the staff like, hey, I'll be there. Is it a way that we can connect just to learn more? When I was at the NCAA as an intern, you could meet with so many execs. Like, you had the opportunity to meet the VPs and set up meetings with, and they would take them. And I was just doing it like, okay, I'm just gonna meet with everybody. Yeah. And then it was like the third one I got to, and I wasn't really interested in meeting them, and they didn't have they didn't seem interested. I really wasn't interested. And from there I said, I'm going to stop just meeting with anybody, and I'm going to make sure that it's authentic and intentional. And then naturally, because you can network and you don't have to like everybody. And I think in my mind, I felt like you had to really like everyone. And you really don't, you really don't. You can just, some people you're going to really click with. Some people you're going to be like, oh, I'll see you when I see you, but you're not going to be in my circle. So it's just really being authentic and intentional. But I just love building relationships and just going places and really knowing, just knowing somebody, every time I travel somewhere, just being able to maybe know somebody where I'm going to kind of show me around. And then also for career purposes, because most of my jobs were because of networks that I got reached out about. I didn't, look into them. My name came up in the room.
I'm taking notes right now. I'm like, all right, what do I need to do? All right, so as a community partner of the Kalamazoo Promise, how does your role at Western connect to supporting students and families in our community?
Yeah, so one of the pillars of Broncos Empowered is community and alumni engagement. The community piece is huge. In the programs that I built when it comes to student athlete development, servant leadership is definitely one of the most important ones, because when I got to Western, when I was asking, kind of going on my listening tour of asking people questions, one of the main things they said about the athletic department, and Western really in general, but really the athletic department, was that a lot of the students, the student athletes, they go back to like Mattawan or Portage to read books or to be in the classrooms because that's where their parents go to school. And I was like, well, what about like just Kalamazoo? And they're like, not really. We don't really get many opportunities. And so to me, you can't be in a city and not, give back to the city, the people that, represent the city specifically, and the people that look like a lot of our athletes. And so I thought it was very important for our student athletes to get involved in the community. In Kalamazoo, we still, represent Portage, Mattawan, Parchment. We still are doing those schools, but I thought it was really important to make sure that we're doing, Kalamazoo, because this is, who we are. And so it's just really important. We've had over 6,000 community service hours right now with our student athletes. We're looking to probably do our break a record again in the service hours. It's just really important to get into schools, read books, mentorship programs. I know we just have a new one that we just started up with you all and PALS, to bring some middle school students to campus, to the Reed Fieldhouse, and we have student athletes mentoring them. And so it's just really important to give back in those ways. And so, it's just servant leadership is important in what we do. And we want to make sure that, they know that athletics is a partner and will help out any way they can.
That's awesome. It's good to hear, because not everybody knows like what you guys are doing unless they directly see it. Like, unless their kid is, the one being mentored or they happen to work at the place, it's not something that the regular person just sees like on Facebook or social media or TV or different things like that. But talking about Broncos Empowered, could you tell us a little bit more about that, and also the championship culture, and what are your main goals, and like what inspired that?
Yeah, so what inspired it is, the athletic director, Dan Bartholomew, he had a background in student athlete development, and so in student facing jobs. So that was important for him, but also the Empowering Futures gift that was given to the university. That was a big part of that as well. And so it didn't exist at Western Michigan, and so Dan, wanted it to exist and be the difference maker in the MAC. And so that's what inspired it. He had to find the best leader to do that, and that was me, right? No,
there it is.
No, but
humble brag.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, but so it was good to. So Broncos Empowered is student athlete development to help prepare student athletes for life after sport. We want to develop them holistically. Just be prepared for life, and so we have 3 different pillars that we fall under for Broncos Empowered. One of them is the holistic development of student athletes, alumni and community engagement, and coaches and staff professional development. So that's Broncos Empowered pillars. And through the first one of holistic development, we have a 4-year career plan for our student athletes. So they go through a series of workshops every year to prepare them for life after. Some examples are like a dining etiquette, building your brand, core values, how to network, an actual networking event. So those are some areas: cover letter, resume help, internships. So we help with that. We have personal development, which is more of the financial literacy side. They have a financial literacy program they have to go through as well. Nutrition, health, mental health. We have, again, building the name, image, and likeness is a big piece now. So helping them just with taxes if they're, getting paid. And then we have the community service piece, which I mentioned. And we, again, want to be servant leaders. It's a goal out there to, you can be nationally ranked through an app that we use, and we want to be top 25 every year. So the first year we were 10th. And then the second year we stepped back a little bit. And then this year, hopefully, we're going to be in the top 5. But but we just want to be in top 25. We've done that. So, and then we have leadership development. So we help them become better leaders. So we do just regular team building workshops with the student athletes or with their teams. We also have a leadership academy for our future leaders, and we have a captain's roundtable for all of our current captains. And so that's a piece. And then we have diversity and inclusion. So we have a DEI task force. We have a Black Cultivated Athletes group for our Black student athletes. We have Pride. We have a women's group. We also have an international student athlete group. So those are the areas that we're kind of building for our student athletes to be holistically prepared. We do a lot of one-on-one meetings, just check-ins, but that's kind of the quick overview of what we're doing from the holistic part. We also, from the alumni part, we're just trying to build better engagement and get them involved. Specifically our student athlete alums, just getting them back involved. We created a Broncos for Life mentorship program this year, so we have some mentors. Alumni mentors giving back to our student athletes who signed up. So this is our test pilot run, and it seems to be going well. So of course we're gonna keep it going. But that's kind of from that area. And then coaches, staff, professional development is really the culture and DEI piece of it. Just making sure that that we're having a good culture in the department, which is then the championship culture. We want to build that environment to have champions in our department. And the championship culture is really just make sure we're celebrating the success. So when we win the championships, and we've won a lot since Dan, Dan's been here, and we're looking to win the national championship in hockey. Hopefully, that's going to be great.
Go Broncos!
we celebrate it. So, when you win a championship, we have a breakfast for the team, and all staff and, some community members, depending on the support you have, they come and celebrate. When you're about to go off to hopefully win your conference championship, we're celebrating you leaving. We, so that's really just making sure that anything that we can do to make you feel like a champion or even make you, have you get a taste of what another team is doing. Then now you want to do it. So you see all the other championship celebrations and the welcome backs when they come and you're like, man, I want that. And so then you can go out and do it. So that's kind of a overall of kind of what Broncos Empowered and championship culture does.
That's awesome. It doesn't sound like there's one thing that you guys don't cover. It sounds like you take care of everything on and off the court, so to speak. The holistic approach is great. Just seeing that like you're preparing them for life, like after sports, but also like helping them excel in sports as well. And I've seen like some of the events that you guys have too. Like I've been to a couple and they're awesome. So thank you for the work that you're doing.
No, yeah, appreciate that. And they have an academic advisor, so that's not my department. So it's been a lot of people in the MAC. They have dual roles, and so again, we wanted to be a separate. So we're it's 3 staff members in my department. It's 3 of us, and we wanted to be like every day we're thinking about preparing them for life after sport and make sure they have the best student athlete experience. And I tell our student athletes all the time, of course, academics is important, so you need to get that done. Your sport is important, and I believe it's important because it's important to you, but I really don't care about, those things is like, I want to make sure you're a good person. I want to make sure you're prepared and that somebody is not pressuring you in any of the way, you just feel like you can go somewhere when you just want to maybe not think about your sport and you need somewhere to go. Cause that's what they deal with a lot,
Yeah. It's the whole life experience. I think you touched on like the impact that your program has. What are ways that you collaborate with other organizations or departments at Western to help foster that culture of empowerment and excellence for the students?
Yeah, I mean, we partner a lot. I'm always looking to partner because I think it's important not to just do things alone. I'm a big collaborator. I feel like you can collaborate and achieve a lot more than just doing it by yourself. So I'm not really big on having to do things on my own or like gatekeeping it and making sure that it's only us, right? Like I think we have to spread the wealth sometime, and so I mean the career center on campus is a huge partner with us, especially with some of our events. Our networking event they're a huge help of it. Our internship program that I believe Andrea was here before, that helps out with internships. Now we have somebody to collaborate with to help our student athletes get internships and be more specific on knowing that they have a busy schedule too. And so how can we help with that? Community members, we mentioned like you all, the Kalamazoo Promise has been just huge in trying to do things to bring the kids around and get involved in. We had our Spooks and I forget what we changed the name to. It was Trunk or Treat, but we did it Spooks and Sweets. Okay. Spooks and Sweets. We changed the name and we asked you all to put it out there and make sure that people can come out, and the mentorship program that we're partnering to do or that we're doing is just the game. We did a game for women's basketball where we brought a lot of middle schoolers to the game, so it's just like those type of partnerships that's been great. But the multicultural center on campus, just to make sure that our students feel like they belong, student affairs, just so that we know, I want our student athletes to have a non-student athlete experience as well. Like they only do things, I don't want them only doing things in our building, right? They need to go on campus and like have a campus experience. Like what's the normal campus experience? So that's kind of different ways that we partnership.
Okay. Very nice. Let's see. You already answered a lot of these, so I gotta go through the list a little bit. No, you covered. You got this down. I see the years of experience just with you talking. Okay, we're gonna go to vision and transformation, right? looking at Kalamazoo, greater Kalamazoo community. If you could change one thing about the greater Kalamazoo community, what would it be?
That was the one that I was like, oh goodness.
It's a tough one.
That was a tough one. I will say that, Kalamazoo for me has been very good because I was in Clemson, South Carolina. Then I went to Manhattan, Kansas. So it got a little bit bigger of cities. And then Kalamazoo was just like a breath of fresh air. Like finally, it's a lot like more things to do. It's more things to do compared to where I was.
Yeah.
I've been in I've been to bigger cities, so I know it's not a huge city. But you know what? I think if I could really change one thing or something, it'd really be to figure out I think how to really make sure that because I know we talked about, I think you all talked about like the promised numbers sometime, and how to, be more engaged, right? Like how can we like continue to partner and just help from a university standpoint, but from an athletic specifically of like, how can we really try to have our student athletes really share some of their stories? And I think we're starting to do that with the mentorship program, but really just to have people take, because Kalamazoo Promise to me is the biggest thing. I don't have kids, but it almost sold me. It sold me of like I need to like stay here to have kids just so they can go to school.
Put down some roots.
But I think if we could, just continue to help, I think in that way to really have people take advantage of the opportunity that they have, I think would be amazing, especially knowing that that not as many people take advantage of it, or they just need to figure out different ways that they can take advantage of it. And so just how can we, continue to collaborate and partner to make sure that the, strong mission that you all have is like being fulfilled, and from a, collaborative way, I would say.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's good. I know, growing up here, like when I started going to school, going to Valley was like, that's where I'm gonna start. And I just, I drive past Western, like I've seen Western like all the time, and I've been there, but I just kept thinking like, man, that's the goal. In my, in my, what do you call it? Like my small town view, I was like, man, I gotta get to Western. Like I'm trying to be there. Just from like the little bit of information that I had about it, I was like, that's the goal. And I feel like there are other people who might feel that way, or if they actually went up there and saw the different things, their minds would be like, whoa, I should be up here. My son, he just went to KVCC, and they took him on a tour and stuff. And, kids like, he's like, oh man, they got like soda machines that you can use whenever you want. Like I need to go there. I'm like, man, if you go up to Western and you see all this stuff they have, he's going to see the video games and stuff like in the student center, all the stuff in there. And he's going to be like, Dad, I got to go there. I got to. And I think it is really important that those collaborative experiences where you have the youth go up there and see what it's like, see themselves there. I think that's big. So I really like your answer.
Yeah. And I think, just to piggyback off that, to me, so I was just on a trip. It was a family trip, that I was on, and, I was with it was teenagers there that I didn't really, it was like some of my family, friends, kids. And what I realized, looking at a lot of them was that they want to be too cool. Like it's just like they want to be too cool that they do things that like that's not really them, You can just see people and know that that's like probably not your, like how you would act on a normal basis, but because you're around other like teenagers, you're like, oh, I'm going to act all cool and act all tough. When in reality, that's not who that's not maybe who you are. And I think that's what we see a lot, that sometimes people don't think school is cool, I guess, because they don't see a lot of people, they don't see people that are doing it, or they, or people might make fun of it because they just, just embarrassed of being smart, right? Being smart and wanting to go get an education from a university. And I know you don't have to, get an education from a university to be successful. But I just think a lot of people, are just being too cool sometimes when, you just don't want to fit in. You want to fit in so much that you don't want to be the separator and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go to college. So,
but the second you get there, you feel like, I'm surrounded by people that have the same goal.
Exactly.
Like I'm one of cool people when I'm up here. Like,
yes.
You just don't see it when you're, just going to high school or you're working a job or those different things. You're not surrounded by those people who are trying to achieve that. But the second you are, it's like when you study at home and then you study at the library and you're surrounded by people. You don't you just kind of, some people just say they lock in when they go to the library. It's just a different experience. And I think that happens sometimes. So,
did you study at the library much? Because I could be honest, I did not study at the library at all.
Did I study a lot? Period. Is the real question. No, but when I studied at home, yes, I was comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. But then when I studied in the library with my people, I felt comfortable and focused.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, I need to do this. All my people are doing the same thing. Like, why am I not doing it?
Yeah.
So
you have a lot of distractions at home because you got
I turned the game on.
TV. Easy click. Yep.
Yeah. Where do you see the future of Broncos Empowered and the championship culture, and especially in terms of student athlete development?
Yeah, I just, this summer actually I'm gonna have my staff and I just take a look at, re-look at the way things are. I've been kind of doing some of the same things that I've done since I've been at Clemson. I've kind of just been taking those opportunities and kind of bringing them, to Kansas State to rebuild theirs and re-energize theirs. And then I brought that to, Western, like, hey, I'm going to, do those things. And it took off great. But now we have name, image, and likeness. We're going to have some revenue, sharing things coming up. And our student athletes it's just going to look different, their student athlete experience. So I just want to make sure that we are preparing and aligning ourselves to adapt to that, right? And I don't want to be one of those that don't like to adapt. It's like I feel like I'm getting to that time where I need to be changing, and it's kind of hard because you're like, oh, we've just been doing it this way so long and it's been good. But, I don't want to be I'm not that type of leader. I want to be somebody that's going to adapt to the change and keep going. So I just really see the future of us really preparing them just in a different way, maybe, and incorporating some different things in what we do, more community members, I think, and people that they can see themselves being, to hear from them and hear their stories a little bit more than just maybe only having us do some of the sessions. So, financial literacy is going to be really big. So we're going to really have to emphasize that. But, I really just think we're going to continue to grow and develop and keep that going and just see maybe what, changes need to be made. But I think the future is going to look bright, and we're going to just continue to keep winning at Western. And so the more winning, people want to come, and we just want to make sure they have a good experience. So I think we're just going to probably focus a little bit more on how do we really set people up for financial success when they leave here, which then, trickles down to that, career exploration piece too, make sure they're prepared for that. But how do we also make sure when they leave there financially, because I could have used some of those lessons more, right? So how do we help make sure that they're financially feel good when they're leaving, specifically where now they can make money more. And so how do we make sure that we're preparing them for that?
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. I mean, I still remember being in a meeting and somebody saying asking the question, when should you start having like a financial planner, like start financial planning? And the answer was now. It's like, well, don't I need to start saving? No, now. Like, it doesn't matter how much you make. You need to start doing it now. I was like, oh, okay. I wish I knew this sooner. But those little things, those make a big difference. So it's awesome what you're doing. So talking about going back to your personal journey, but more of like the motivation side, what's motivated you in your career? And then how do you incorporate your personal values, your ethics? How do you keep that and keeping that commitment to excellence?
Yeah. So, so faith, family, and fun are my values that I live by. And so, faith is very important to me. And so, so as long as I'm grounded in that and following, the path that's need to be followed in faith, that's gonna keep me going all the time. But family, not just a sense of family that has the same blood, but just making sure that we are that we feel like a family. And I know people don't really, not all the time, like that word when you're going places like a family, but again, families are dysfunctional, and and you're not gonna like all your family members. That's just the way it is. But as long as the areas that I'm a part of, or that I can make people feel like family, or I feel like it is some people that's like a family, I feel good about it in my work environment. And as I'm overseeing the department, as long as they feel like my department feels like a family, then I'm okay with that. But I often also want it to be everybody. But I know sometimes might just be my department that feels like the family. But I want to do that. And then fun. You got to have fun. If I can't be going to work and just miserable, right? I want to have fun. It can't be boring. And I tell my staff that if you're not having fun at work, then maybe we just got to explore and see what else what other things you need to do. Is it, how can we either create fun, or how can we, how can I have you go somewhere else, or, prepare you for another opportunity that might be fun. But you have to have fun. You got to, have fun at work as well. And so those are my values. But I think the quote that I shared earlier was really, I seen that quote when I was in college, doing some things I probably wasn't supposed to be doing in college, especially me, if people know who I am, I was a really quiet, shy person, so, I got to college and it was like, wow, this is what's out here. And I was missing out. I didn't know there was this many parties and all this stuff you could be doing for fun. I'm like, oh, wow, this is a good college experience. Yeah, I'm on my own, no parent, my mom isn't telling, so I took advantage of that a little bit. And at a point where I needed to switch gears, I had saw that quote, and it struck me, and I was like, yes, it was faith, it was the Lord telling me, if you want to be successful, you need to be prepared for that right now. And you can make if you make a bad decision, that can affect your future. And so what are you going to be doing? It was just kind of you need to get it together, and you need to prepare now, for what your future looks like. And so, so that's kind of what kind of helped me through that. And then I had a student, a basketball player who's like a friend, because we were the same age. But we were in the locker room one day, and he's like, oh, I just look up to you. And I'm like, what? I didn't know you could. Somebody like, what are you talking about? I never, nobody my same age was like, I look up to you. So it just kind of caught me off guard, but in a way of
put some responsibility on you.
Yeah, I had to leave after that. Dang, people looking at me. They're looking at me to follow, or to be, and not to follow, way of a bad, but just to I just want to learn from him, or I want to look up to him. That kind of
you set the example.
Yeah, that kind of that kind of got to me a little bit. I'm like, we're just the same age though. How am I supposed to be the one? But it made me, be who I am today, because that's what I like to do, is to help. I want to set that example, or I want to be somebody that they can come to when they, just when they want to look at something, or look and see what somebody is doing. That still, I'm always gonna have fun. I'm always gonna, I'm still want to travel. I'm a normal person, but I also have a good job. Have a good job and take care of business that way too. But I just want to be more. I like being relatable to people and helping them understand that you can be yourself. You can be yourself. You can have fun, but as long as you know how to switch that and get to work, your work mode, then you're good.
No, there is something to that when people hear your story and then they see themselves in you, they see oh, you were a college kid, oh, you did go through a bunch of stuff where you weren't used to this kind of lifestyle, or you had this freedom that you didn't have before. and this is how you responded to it. And that speaks a lot as far as like your character, your integrity, that you saw there was something that if somebody else is looking at me, I probably should act differently. And that's awesome. Like it's awesome that you did that and that you realized it in the moment rather than being like, you shouldn't be looking at me. Like don't don't do that. Instead, you're like, all right, I need to be the Julian that I know I am, you know?
Yeah.
Over your time, what are some of your favorite like moments or your favorite aspects of working with student athletes? And also just in Kalamazoo too. Like, is there anything specific?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to the student athletes, I was just talking to, and I feel like people don't really talk on the planes that much anymore like they used to. But I was talking to a lady on the plane, and she was asking about just my career, and she asked if I know anybody, like, she's like, you know anybody that's in the, you know, professional sports? And I'm like, yeah, I do. You know, I do. And I think it is amazing to see when they, you know, when they do succeed and they're now playing for an NBA team or they're now playing for an NFL team, an MLB team, MLS. You know, just, you know, all those. Haven't had I believe I'm gonna have a WNBA player here soon.
Okay,
but from Kansas State, but I haven't had one yet. So I'm excited to maybe have somebody there for finally. But it's good to see them work hard for that and they get it. But also in the careers as well. I have a student athlete who just graduated last year. He interned with me. He wanted to intern with me to learn kind of more about what I do, and he said he wanted to work for New Balance is what he wanted to go work for, but he had got a job with the Patriots to do an internship over this year.
Okay,
and then we just had a phone call a couple weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, I got a job. I just accepted a job at New Balance. And just, you know, so it's exciting when you talk to the student athletes about what they want to do in their careers, and you know they want to go pro. Some don't. They just like, you know, I know it's not for me next, but they go pro in whatever they want to go pro in their field, and I think that's what really is just exciting. It's just exciting to see, like exciting to see the success stories, see them having kids and getting married. It's just like. Like, wow, I'm not there yet, but hey, no, I'm not, you know, I'm still single and not married. So, but you know, but it's just cool to be able to see them kind of grow in that way, especially when you see them from a freshman, right, and they transition to becoming a leader and being around your programming more and doing things like that. It's exciting. It's exciting seeing them in the community, you know, give back to the students and make impacts there. And then I think, you know, for Kalamazoo, can you just repeat the part about Kalamazoo?
Do you have any favorite moments from like Kalamazoo? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's really, I don't know, it's really just the people. I mean, I did, you know, what we did together, Leadership Kalamazoo. That was important.
Best class ever.
Best class ever, yep.
It's on the record.
It is on the record. Best class ever.
I'm sorry.
I mean, it's true. It's true. I mean, you don't got to apologize for being, you know, telling the truth. So, you know,
no dissing to the other classes that might be here or you know around, but but yeah. So Leadership Kalamazoo, you know, that was a good moment for me because you know I was new to Kalamazoo, and to do it. You know, the time that I did it, you know, I heard about it when I first got here. I just didn't think it was going to be the best class ever, so I decided not to. You know, so I was like, I'm not going to. You had to wait.
I had to wait. You know, so that's not going to be the one.
I respect that.
So I had a year in, and then I said, oh, this is time for me to, you know, to do this, to learn more about Kalamazoo and understand the people. And so that was really one of my favorite moments, really just to learn about. Like, I met so many people that I probably wouldn't have met, right? Or really wouldn't, you know, probably hang out with. You know, I got lunch with a couple people that I probably wouldn't, you know, normally have just went and got lunch with. So that's been really, really cool. And I just enjoy, and I'm not sure if people feel like Kalamazoo's diverse. I do, though, because the places I've been were not diverse. And so I really enjoy that it's a lot of diversity here, and I'm able to. I have friends outside of work, which is have not been the case. The places that I've been, it's like my friends are my
like close friends back home.
They were just like and I had to have friends that was in the office because that was all that's the only people we see really, and so it's been cool to build a community here in Kalamazoo that I don't have to be always around work people or colleagues, and then I can take share some of those experiences with my friends to some of our events as well. So.
That's awesome, and that's a grown up problem for like if you just go somewhere and you're like, I'm gonna start a new life right here, to go out and make friends. I haven't gone anywhere. Went to Jackson for a little bit and did find some community there, but at first it's kind of intimidating. Like, I hope they like me.
Exactly. Yeah. It was actually way more intimidating here in Kalamazoo than it was at other places. And it's funny because as a black person in Kansas, it just wasn't really that many, and so basically we just became friends when you saw them, and like you just saw them you just saw them walking down the street, and you're like, oh wait, where are you? Hey, let's be friends. But no, some
of my family, they say like, oh, a unicorn. Like if we're in the middle of nowhere and then we happen to see another black person, we're like, oh, it's a unicorn, like because it's so rare. Okay, sorry, I'm a little off track now. Okay, so when you went to school and your experiences there, if you had a support system like the Kalamazoo Promise, how might it have influenced your personal and professional journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably would be way more. I would have had a way more knowledge than I had going into just school in general. I'm a first generation, college student, so neither of my parents had a clue of what I was, what we need to be prepared for for me to go to college. We didn't know about financial aid. We just didn't know about the things that I needed to probably know in order to go to college about what, especially when maybe you didn't have or you didn't maybe meet with your counselor enough to really know, like, oh, I was supposed to have two, foreign language classes and two, you needed this many maths or, whatever. Yeah. When you didn't have that, it's kind of hard to do when your parents don't really know either. And so I think if you had a support system like this, for me, it would have just been a huge success because I would have been, I won't change anything. I had a great, everything happened for a reason, and I'm happy for that. But sometimes I do look like, man, if I had someone else that really knew if I had a support group like, you all that really helped us and guided us and gave workshops to go to, then it would make a difference, right? Yeah. Even if you have parents that went to college, it's still different, right? Yeah. Like you know that like we don't listen to our parents, but we're like we like your advice is not that it's good, but deep down it's good, but we're like at the moment you're like we're not taking your advice, so you need someone else to be able to share that same message, and that just goes in a lot of different ways. You're going to say the same message, but it just has to come from somebody else in order for them maybe to really take it serious.
I've seen that as a parent with my 12-year-old. Like I'll say it 1,000 times, and then somebody else, like Uncle Tyler, will say it, and then who's not not family, he says it, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I should be doing that." Yeah. Like really?
Exactly. Yeah. So I just think it's just again, the first thing, one of the first things when I was telling, my mom, I call my mom for basically everything, basically everything. But when I was finishing up my interview here in Kalamazoo, and that's what they shared with me about the Kalamazoo Promise and told me about it in our driving tour, I had called my mom. I was like, wow, they got this Kalamazoo Promise that like you can like go to school for like school could be paid for anywhere in anywhere in the state. Yeah. Any public university in the state, and it just seems I'm like Yeah, that just sounds amazing. Like, I can't, believe that that's something that's out there. And I like what happened. How many more, for me, and thinking about it, Cincinnati, like how many more of us would have probably went to college, would have been able to maybe have that experience, if if we had that opportunity to have people like you all kind of help and support us and giving us the pathway and having us meet people and the internship thing, like just all these different things that like I probably would not have thought I wanted to do at all. But now that I'm like, the adult, like, dang, that's some good stuff to do at that age. Like, you got to start young. And so, yeah, I think that's it. But, yeah.
Yeah, it takes away a lot of that pressure. And then it just opens doors where you didn't know that you could do those things. Like, I can just go and talk to a CEO. I can? Like, I figured I had to, be at some sort of level before I could do something like that. But yeah, it's amazing. I could go on and on about it, but I don't need to. Like, people already know. If you had a golden nugget of wisdom that you'd want to share with someone who wanted to do the same work as you, what would that be?
I would. I am fortunate enough that I'm teaching a class this semester in sports management at Western.
Okay,
and
professor.
It's appreciate that.
Yeah.
When I got my first email saying Professor Jones, I was like, what? Yeah, that's cool. But no. But the class is to help prepare people for like internships in sport, for their internship course in sports. And somebody asked me kind of a similar question in the class, and but it was really about moving. Like, should they move somewhere? And back then I would have said, like, yeah, you got to move. Like, it's hard to get a job in college athletics. You got to move anywhere. And I wouldn't say that now. So I think it's really just you really need to know your values, what you value, and don't just take an opportunity because you feel like because you think it's going to help your career when you want to go somewhere and have fun. Like, you don't want to go somewhere and like you're going to be miserable there, so like, yeah, I made a community in Kansas, but like going there was tough in the beginning, so it's like you got to work through that. And so I just think what I say is I tell people now is just to write down the things that you want and need in your job that you're going to, and which is a non-negotiable list, and don't negotiate them, so like, yeah, so you gotta, but my list is like things that can be negotiated, and then it's like these are the non-negotiables. So so as I was getting my call from Dan and he was telling me about the role, he checked off every single box on my list of like, oh that sounds good then, okay, let's talk, like it's but it helped me to not take opportunities that just sound good or just, they're offering a lot of money, so I just want to go there and do it because it didn't even match my list. And so now I just kind of tell people that just don't take opportunities just to take them, because people tell you about the opportunity that it's not a good place to go, but because of the name brand, it's a big school, you still go, and then you're complaining about it later. Like that's the part, like, but everybody makes those mistakes, but or maybe it wasn't a mistake, it's something, a learning moment. But I think for me, it's just my biggest advice is to have your list, just have your non-negotiable list, because it is important for you to not waver on those things. If you want to go be near a big airport, then you can't go, you can't negotiate that, go somewhere different and then you wonder kind of why you're a little upset, or not happy, is because, well, you said what you wanted, but then you went somewhere else and didn't do it. So I think really know your values, stick to them, and write that list out so that it can help guide you to where you're going to go and have a good time. So that's part of it. Then I guess the other one would be just relationship building. Is it's important to be authentic, have those authentic relationships, build those, and with those, just work hard at what you're doing. And I know people say it all the time, but it came true for me. It was like, oh yeah, people will notice if you just work hard, do your job that you're doing, and people will notice you. And when I got my first call of like, so are you interested, I have a job opening that we think you'd be great for, then I realized, you're right. All I got to do is work hard, and and things will come to fruition. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Do you have any questions for us?
I guess I'm just curious if you had, a golden nugget to share.
Oh gosh.
What would yours be?
Oh man. I don't know. I want to take like every single golden nugget I've heard on this show and put them all together. But I think one that I'm learning right now, I'm taking a class right now that's like ethical leadership. And part of it is you have to build this kind of like an ethical manual of what are my ethics, what are my values, what are the things I don't like bend on. Mm-hmm. And I'm making this framework that any situation, any job, any interaction, anything that happens in my life, this is the guideline that I respond with. And it had, like kind of like you said, you check off the things, and that really will guide everything that I'm gonna do in the future. And it's like complex, it's thorough, it covers everything, and then it kind of takes out the should I do this? I don't know, that. I won't second guess myself because I'm like, I have this guideline. This is how I respond. Even if I don't feel like it, this is how I'm going to respond. So it doesn't have to be that complex and thorough, but something like that where you know who you are, what you want, who you want to be, the values that you have, like public service, different things like that, that servant mindset. Having that will take you exactly where you need to go. So
no, that seems great. I would definitely love to talk to you about that offline, because I feel like that seems like a really good something that that I could utilize.
Okay, no, I'll share it with you.
But yeah, that seems good. Yeah, because I think that's important for sure. And I guess my other question would be, I guess what do you feel like, if you had to vision wise for Kalamazoo Promise and Western athletics, right? What would you see as like something that'd be cool that that we would collaborate on?
I think just exposure, like having, if every K through 12 student at some point saw Western, went to a game, because if I did go to a game when I was in K through 12, I don't remember it. It might have happened. I don't want to I don't want to say like, oh, I never went to a game and I did, but I don't remember it. And I think if there were multiple times, like at least once in, elementary, once in middle school, once in high school, and then just learning about the athletic program. Especially when they're like seniors and seeing like, oh, this is up here, I didn't know, I think that's really big. So that's something I could see, just seeing the value of athletics, seeing the value of post-secondary education, and then just putting those together, like them seeing all the stuff they can do. So yeah.
Well, those are all the questions.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I always get nervous during this part of the show. I'm like, oh man, here we go.
Here you go.
How can people get in touch with you?
They can, so julian.jones@wmich.edu is my email, but you always can find me on LinkedIn or, LinkedIn. Probably the easy. Yeah, Google me. That's that's probably the easiest. That's the easiest way. But yeah, I think, because I don't know how many people, I don't want to share my number on here,
right?
So many people might, no, but no, really just, social media. I'm on social media if they need to find my name, and Julian Jones, or some might be Julian J. Jones. So I got 3 J's in my name, but
3 J's. I was doing something with 2.
Got 3. But so that's how get in contact with me.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
I'm gonna close this out with a little encouragement. So remember, every step toward empowerment and excellence brings our community closer together. Your work has the power to inspire and elevate everyone involved.